Hello, and welcome to Keep Calm for Moms, where we talk about what it means to parent the next generation with grace and ease. I am Dr. Pamela Ellis, the education doctor, and I want to welcome you to the show today. So, before I get into introducing my amazing guest and bringing her on, I want to share with you a little bit about who I am and this show and just kind of where Keep Calm actually comes from, because I do get that question a lot. But again, my firm is Compass College Advisory, where we partner with busy moms to help their teen find a college that feels like home without overpaying. And Keep Calm is our proprietary framework that helps us do just that. And the CALM stands for College and Accelerated Leadership Methodology. There are 5 pillars to keep calm. They are academic, social, financial, vocational, and cultural. And each week on the show, we touch on one of those pillars. And today's show will be part of our Boss Mom series, where we talk with some amazing moms about work-life balance. We talk about their career journey, and of course, all of the excitement of being a mom. And so today I am going to bring on my guest, Joyce E. Davis. So come on up here, Joyce.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know something, Joyce, one of the things we were talking about earlier is the fact that we met through this show because you had watched one of the earlier episodes, and that's how we got connected. And so I am just so pleased to meet you, in real time.
Yes, nice
Yes.
to meet you as well. I have since found out that you are either classmates or friends with some of my friends, particularly Pam Bassi. I think
Get
you
out of here.
oh,
Really?
yes,
Oh
yes,
my goodness. Yeah. And she's from the ATL. So, and that's where you live, right?
exactly. We are high school classmates.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah,
What
the
a
world is
small
small.
world. What a small world. And especially among us, it's a
Yes, ma'am.
small world. So I'm
Yes,
sure we
ma'am.
probably got a lot of other overlap as well.
I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
I'm sure we do.
So, Joyce, tell us a little bit about who you are as a mom. Let's start there.
Okay. All right. I am the mom of one daughter.
Uh-huh.
She is 15 years old and she is
Whoa.
in the 10th grade, just finished her first semester in 10th
Oh,
grade. And
yeah.
so she is a kid who is like creative. She's interested in psychology.
Hmm.
And I was kind of one of the have been very
Yeah.
much a little bit of a helicopter parent. Um,
Really? Now,
yeah.
you got to say something about that.
Okay.
Because
Talk
I
about
work with some
activity.
helicopter parents and kind of, what my, mantra is, if you will, is that, the high school years are about letting go as opposed to the helicoptering. So come on and tell us about it.
So I guess helicopter does have a negative connotation. So maybe I'll say like a really engaged parent or a tiger mom. That sounds better. But I have been the mom who had their child in
Yeah.
a lot of extracurricular
Yeah.
activities, dance
Really?
and ultimate
Mhm.
frisbee and art and
Yeah.
robotics and whatever I could find to kind of
Mhm.
introduce her to different
Yes.
activities, different
Hmm.
fields, different interests. And so we did a lot of that in elementary and middle school. And you're right, in
Yes.
high school, it is
Hmm.
up to them
Yeah.
and you want it to be up to them to find their own interests. Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, she entered high school during the pandemic.
Oh,
And so,
tell us about
yeah,
that. Mm.
uh, it was a challenge. It is still a
Really?
challenge. It is still a
Oh,
challenge. She ended middle school, which is eighth
yeah.
grade, in during the pandemic when everybody else went home in that March of 2020.
Yeah.
So did she. And then so she ended up starting ninth grade
Mm.
virtually. And she had come from a private school in a friend's school, which is our Quaker education.
Oh, yeah.
She went to, which was an incredible experience. I mean, one
Hmm.
of the best experiences I think that we had in an academic environment, because
Right.
middle school is very difficult, I think, for all kids because
Mm-hmm.
they're like preteens, and
Right.
their hormones are raging and they're changing and they're trying on personalities. They're trying to
Mm.
figure out who they are, and so
Right.
to be in a small environment that is based in kind of education and social equity and social justice.
Right.
Which was part of her
Right.
academic experience in middle school, and so she transitioned into a public school, a really good public school, in the ninth grade, but she was online for the entire
Really?
most part.
Now tell me this. I want to go back for a minute. What kind of closure did she have in terms of leaving middle school?
They were online as well. She had
Mm-hmm.
a graduation that was virtual.
Okay.
And she was the senior in
Mm.
middle school, and so it was disappointing. There's the
Yeah.
culmination of any academic experience is great because you've made it through.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so challenging because the transition to virtual in a week, which is what everybody did. I mean, at the time,
Right.
I was at Spelman
Mm.
College, and Spelman transitioned in a week, just like every other school. And so that's where I was
Mm.
working at the time. And
Right.
I think that was just very difficult, and no one was necessarily as prepared
Right.
to have classes online,
Mm. Hmm.
instruct online, and creating an actual
Right.
class and curriculum that is
Hmm.
developed for online instruction is very different than having a
Yeah.
curriculum and trying to make it online. It's not the same.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
think it's difficult all around.
Absolutely.
That
So during the pandemic, then you actually transitioned in terms of changing careers, right?
I
So
did.
can you
I
tell us
did.
a little bit about that?
So, until this past July, I had been at
Mhm.
Spelman College for almost 14 years. I
Wow.
had been in communications. I started
Yeah.
out as the associate director in the Office of Publications, and
Mm.
eventually I became the associate vice
Mm.
president of marketing and communications, reporting directly to the president, who was
Yeah.
our president, Mary Schmidt Campbell, a transformative, just
Mm.
woman president. Um,
Yeah.
Basically, she was the founder of the Schomburg, I'm sorry, the Studio Museum in Harlem.
Oh, yeah.
Went on to serve
Mhm.
under mayors, was at NYU
Mm.
for 20 some odd years,
Wow.
leading their arts programs.
Mhm.
And then she's a Romare Bearden Scholar if you like arts. And so
Wow.
just working with such a transformative
Yeah.
leader was instrumental in my
Mhm.
development along my leadership
Absolutely.
journey.
Absolutely. And that's certainly amazing, to have a woman leader,
I mean,
and
yes, and she
so
has served under women leaders.
mhm.
So obviously the previous presidents of Spelman, and the
Mhm.
previous one that I worked under, Dr.
Yeah.
Beverly Daniel Tatum,
Oh, yeah.
same thing, transformative. I didn't report directly to her, but definitely her leadership
Mm.
style was influential in mine as well.
Yeah. How do you think having women leaders as transformative as them really shaped, your own leadership style?
So I believe that it allows you to know that you can do it.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
just seeing it, close up, being
Yes.
a recipient of their mentoring and their guidance,
Mhm.
seeing how they problem solve and how they problem
Right.
solve differently than
Yeah.
men,
Mhm.
honestly. And then these are Black women at a Black
Right.
institution.
Yes.
Before I was in media relations and communications, I spent
Mhm.
my first 10 to 12 years of my
Mm.
career as a journalist. And I worked
Yeah.
with women leaders for the majority of that career, women who were the editors
Mm.
of magazines, Essence Magazine, BET Weekend Magazine,
Right.
Honey Magazine. And even when I was at Fortune Magazine, which was my first
Mm.
job, there was a
Mhm.
Black woman on staff who covered hotels. And she was the
Mm.
only Black woman
Yeah.
kind of editor
Wow.
at Fortune Magazine. And so just seeing that
Mhm.
you can do it
Yeah.
well, and you can do it successfully, and
Yeah.
learn how from them, has been very instrumental in how I've learned how to lead.
Now, you have transitioned out of journalism. What do you
Mhm.
say to those teens out there who are thinking about a journalism career and just kind of some of the changes that have taken place, especially in the last several years?
Dramatic.
Yeah.
And it's really been almost 20 years.
Mm.
I remember the advent of the internet, so to speak, and
Yes.
seeing what it did to journalism. And there's been a lot of
Hmm.
contraction in the media and
Yeah.
journalism industry because
Yeah.
the internet, digital communications has really had an impact on how people tell
Right.
stories.
Hmm.
So I think getting those basic skills like
Yeah.
writing is still a
Yeah.
basic skill, even if you're going to be
Hmm.
a blogger or a
Yeah.
blogger, or your
Yes.
way that you communicate or develop your stories is
Uh-huh.
digital. It's still important to be a good writer and have those
Yeah.
basic journalism skills because
Yes.
they still show up regardless
Hmm.
of the medium through which you're doing your storytelling. So, and then it's
Absolutely.
good to, lean into yourself and figure out what you're interested in, what type of
Hmm.
story you want to tell, what type of impact that you want to have, where you want to move
Yeah.
the needle. Mine has always been about Black
Hmm.
people, Black women, people of color. In my new role, I've expanded what I'm
Hmm.
interested in terms of storytelling. I
Yeah.
am now at Pearson, which is the
Hmm.
world's leading learning company, and my
Yes.
career is a bit different now, but I am doing storytelling about different identities,
Mm.
and I find it incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, tell us just kind of how what you've learned in terms of the different women leaders that have influenced you. What have you learned from them that's translated into how you are as a mom at home?
Oh boy, that's a great question. So all of the women leaders that I just mentioned are
Hmm.
parents.
Hmm.
Um, um, Two of them are married and have been married probably 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
The other woman leader, my mentor, her name is Jonick Rice Lamb, and she is
Hmm.
at Howard University in their journalism department as a professor and led the department for a
Hmm.
while. And then she's also the editor in chief of a couple of magazines
Mm.
at the same
Hmm.
time, Heart and Soul
Yeah.
magazine and BET Weekend magazine.
Yeah.
Was a single parent for part of
Mm.
her journey has been.
Yeah.
And so I'm a single parent. My
Hmm.
daughter's father is involved, but I
Hmm.
am the primary parent. And so
Right.
what I've learned from them is that work-life balance is
Mm.
a journey. I
Yeah.
heard another one of your interview subjects say that it's a
Mhm.
dance. And I so agree with that. I loved how positively she
Yeah.
said that.
Mhm.
And what I've learned is that you have to understand what your priorities are, and
Yeah.
you have to develop your life to meet
Mhm.
your priorities.
Yeah.
And so sometimes your priorities change and
Mhm.
you have to change your life
Yeah,
because your
absolutely.
priorities will change and you have to change your life, which is part of the reason why I changed
Mhm.
my career. It was time
Right.
for me to do something different, and I needed
Mhm.
to be a little bit more present as my daughter was
Right.
getting older and
Yeah.
moving into the kind of the high school stage, and she has a learning difference, and so I needed to
Mhm.
be able to put some resources around her so that
Yeah.
she could be successful, not
Mhm.
just in high school, but in life. And so putting
Yeah.
those resources around her
Mhm.
required more funding.
Yeah.
It also required
Yeah.
more time from me.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to
Right.
be present. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I've learned from all three of those women who I mentioned, both presidents of
Mhm.
Scotland as well as my mentor, is that
Yeah.
priorities and creating a life that works for your
Mm.
priorities is
Right.
critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, tell me this in terms of your daughter's learning difference. What were some of the things that you found made a difference or is making a difference in, with supporting her success as a scholar and, managing everything else that comes along with being a high schooler?
What is making a difference is again being present, but
Mhm.
also bringing in people who have expertise.
Yeah.
Also, listening,
Mm.
and being open to
Yeah.
recommendations, being open
Mhm.
to um, conversations with others who are having the same
Mhm.
journey. I
Yeah.
have a friend group, and I have a group of
Really?
moms. I'm in a group
Mm.
chat who are
Mhm.
they're all Black moms who have children at the high school or the elementary school or the middle
Mm.
school in my district, and we exchange resources. A lot of
Yeah.
those parents have children who have learning differences, and so
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
just your network,
Yeah.
leveraging your network,
Mhm.
and then also making sure that you get
Mhm.
everything that's available to you at the school where your child is
Absolutely.
enrolled. And so
Mhm.
we have made use of the counselors, we've made use of
Mhm.
the opportunities for interventions, we've made
Right.
use of whatever resources that they have.
Yeah.
But just
Mhm.
being open and to people providing you with
Mhm.
guidance and listening.
Now, did you choose her high school based on those resources that were available?
I absolutely did. So I'm
Really?
kind of an over the
Mm.
top person in terms of choosing academic environments. So when I chose my daughter's elementary school, I looked at 21 schools, public,
What?
private, charter,
Really? Oh my goodness.
and I moved for her to go to elementary school, and then I
Wow.
moved again for her to go to high school. So,
Mhm.
um, the middle school was the
Yeah.
private school, so we could stay in the same location, but to go to the
Yeah.
high school, we needed to move, and so I have a checklist. I go visit the schools. I talk to,
Yeah.
the headmasters, the principals, the
Mhm.
counselors, other parents. I, talk
Yeah.
to, I do a whole lot of research. I look
That's
at,
awesome.
what the ratings are, and then
Mhm.
I choose the school. I
Yeah.
choose the school that I believe is going to be the best fit for her
Mhm.
learning style, for her personality, which is
Yeah.
something different than what was
Mhm.
happening, 20, 30,
Yeah.
40 years ago. People were not choosing schools that were the best fit for their kids. They were choosing
Yeah.
whatever the best school was. And
Yeah.
so,
Or whatever is close by.
or whatever's close
Yeah.
by, or whatever's close by. I
Mhm.
realize that
Yeah.
there is a level of privilege there, and
Mm.
everybody doesn't get the
Yeah.
opportunity to research schools or to move
Yeah.
or to be able to
Right.
move. So I am thankful and grateful for what my
Mhm.
parents put into me that
Yeah.
allowed me to have this way of looking at education. My
Yeah.
mother and father did the same thing. In particular, my
Mhm.
mother
Yeah.
definitely research schools in the same way that I did, and so that's how I knew how to do it.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That is engaged.
Yes, I was very engaged, but now I have chosen the last school I'm gonna choose, okay? So it's up to her. She will be choosing her next school, and she has her heart set on, Howard University, which is my
Yeah.
alma mater, and
That's
I really
awesome.
pray that
Yeah.
will work out for her.
Okay. Hopefully they're listening in.
Right. Yes, yes, we have already visited.
Yes.
Um, I took her,
Yes.
to Howard this summer during the
Mhm.
pandemic, actually, and
Yeah.
I was able to she's interested in
Yeah.
psychology, so I was able
Mhm.
to, hook up a conversation with the chair of psychology, and what's so
Yeah.
interesting is that she had been looking at Hampton University, which, of course,
Mhm.
as a Howard University alum, I was like, "Okay, I love all HBCUs, but I'm just saying, real I'm sure anybody who's watching who goes to Hampton understands what I'm saying. And so she'd been looking at Hampton, thinking that was
Yeah.
might be somewhere where she was interested
Right.
um, in attending. And when we got to
Mhm.
Howard, there was
Yeah.
nobody on campus. It was shut down. It was, this summer was
Yeah.
pandemic, it was
Uh-huh.
shut down. But something about being, I think, on that college campus and then
Right.
having a conversation with that chair of psychology,
Yeah.
it just moved her, and she did her research, and she found out
Mhm.
that Howard has the number one psychology program at an HBCU, and she just
Awesome.
changed her mind like overnight. And it
Wow.
was amazing how much
Mhm.
more engaged she was after
Yeah.
having been
Yeah.
on the campus.
Mhm. That's great. That is
It was
awesome.
fantastic.
Yeah. Awesome. So I want to ask our three rapid wisdom questions because you
Okay,
got a lot of it.
well,
The
thank
first
you.
The first one is, tell us about a book that's informed the way you see being a mom.
I heard this question in a previous session, so I tried to prepare a bit, but I instead of thinking about something that I read
Mhm.
when I was a young parent, there are
Yeah.
two books that I have read recently and one I'm continuing to read.
Really?
And they're not necessarily
Yeah.
parenting books, but they are
Mhm.
books that um are just really helpful to me in keeping my mind right
Right.
and being
Yes.
understanding of
Uh-huh.
the parenting experience. And one is called, this is it. It's What Keeps Me Standing, Letters from
Mm.
Black Grandmothers on Peace, Hope, and Inspiration by Dennis Kimbrough. It's really,
Really?
really, really good.
What
Yes.
keeps me
So
standing?
What
Okay.
Keeps Me Standing. And so basically the premise of the book is that um, Dennis Kimbrough went
Yes.
out and interviewed or got letters from hundreds
Mm.
of Black grandmothers over, a
Wow.
period of time, and he
Mhm.
published those letters. And those letters are written to anybody who was interested in reading them, but what they've
Yeah.
learned from life. And so there's a lot of kind of parenting guidance in there because they're grandmothers.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of grace that those
Uh-huh.
women talk about, as well as spirituality and realizing
Mhm.
that life is a journey and how to be present, and
Yeah.
just all of those kind of things are very helpful to me. And then
Mhm.
that I just finished, which is fantastic, is Tarana Burke's Unbound.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So she is the founder
Yes.
of the Me
Uh-huh.
Too movement, for
Me
those
too.
who don't
Yeah.
know. She has quite a story, and she is the mother
Mm.
of a child, and
Really?
her parenting journey. Even though it doesn't necessarily align all the way with my journey, how
Uh-huh.
she handles challenges and things that happened with her child and to her,
Yeah.
how she responded, and how she turned her life
Right.
into like a testament of how to
Oh,
advocate
wow.
for others,
Uh-huh.
including her child, including herself, and including other
Mm.
children that she was parenting that weren't hers,
Right.
who had been abused or impacted in some negative way. Just the way that she
Mm.
turned all of that into a
Yeah.
powerful, positive journey for all types of people. I just really
Mm.
appreciated how she is
Mhm.
living her life, and how her parenting journey is
Right.
an example to all.
Wow, those are powerful. Those are powerful. Now, this is an aside
Mm.
that just kind of came to mind as you were speaking about Dennis Kimbrough's book. What would you say keeps you standing?
Mm.
What grounds you?
So these days, it's celebrating the wins.
Mm,
It's celebrating the win. So one of the things that I have learned that is powerful for
uh-huh.
me and for my daughter, and in terms of our
Mm,
relationship, is to celebrate the little wins. So if you come home,
yeah.
she comes home with a good grade
Hmm.
after having a challenging week, or if she remembers to do all of her chores, or she
Hmm.
decides to do something, kind or
Yeah.
nice for someone, just
Yeah.
celebrating those little wins, and you know,
Mhm.
and realizing that we're on a journey, and
Yeah.
that everything's not going to be perfect. That and
Hmm.
meditative walking. So I am a
Mm,
huge walker. I mean, I
yeah.
try to walk at least, 2 to 3 miles a day. And then on the weekends,
Hmm.
I try to walk, 6, 7, 8, 10 miles.
Mm,
And that has been instrumental even before the pandemic, meditative
yes.
walking. And sometimes I listen to podcasts, sometimes I listen to music, sometimes I'm doing a LinkedIn
Hmm.
learning. Sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes I'm in meetings, but not that often. Usually it's something that is,
Hmm.
cathartic and restful and
Yeah.
decompressing, and I can just be with me and enjoy
Wow.
nature because I love sunsets. So I like to walk during
Hmm.
the time when the sun is setting, and I take
Hmm.
photos, and I commune with myself, and that
Wow.
keeps me standing and keeps me available
Hmm.
for this parenting journey.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love that. So I'm glad I asked that question. Thank you for that. That gives me some ideas.
It's good to reflect on what you do too, because had you not have
Mhm.
asked me that, I
Yeah.
might not have thought about it in that way. But
Hmm.
thank you for the question.
Yeah. And then our second rapid wisdom question is, in 3 words, the truth about work-life balance is what?
Okay, so I have two thoughts. One is it's a challenge, and the other
Hmm.
thing is it's a journey.
Hmm.
Um, I
A
just
challenging journey.
it's a challenging journey. Those are my three words. There's really no such thing as work-life balance.
Mm.
You have to figure out what your priorities are.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's work, and
Mhm.
sometimes that's your personal life, and sometimes that's your child, and sometimes, that's your health. Um,
Mm.
and you have to kind of course correct and shift and move based on what requires the most attention at that time.
Mm.
And giving yourself grace around not always meeting whatever the external mark is,
Mhm.
whatever people think you're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
giving yourself grace and knowing that you know what you're supposed to be doing, you know
Mhm.
what you need to be focused on.
Yeah.
It's not a balance. It's a
Mhm.
dance. As your previous guest said, it is a
Yeah.
dance, and you're going to shift and move and change based on
Mhm. Yeah.
what is important and what needs your attention at the time.
Absolutely. And then our final rapid wisdom question is, if you had a do-over as a mom, what would it be?
The Capricorn in me wants to say so many things. Um, but I'm gonna land on listening
Mhm.
more and
Yeah.
earlier. And
Mm.
so as my daughter was entering into preteen stage, she started changing as they all do.
Yeah, they
And
do.
I do wish that I had tried to listen more and not be
Mhm.
as punitive,
Mm.
in terms of
Yeah.
like punishments, and because
Yeah.
your child is going through something and they don't have the words
Mm.
or the maturity to always or the confidence or to
Yeah.
always express what they're going through. But if
Mhm.
you can enter into conversation and try to
Yeah.
listen more,
Mhm.
and that's what we do now. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, she's a teenager, so she's
Yeah.
teenaging. Okay, so she's teenagers are going to teenage.
Yeah.
But outside of that, our
Mhm.
children are going through a kind of a traumatizing experience
Yeah,
in this pandemic,
they
and
are.
the world is, if you think about the
Mhm.
racial reckoning that happened last summer, your children are
Yeah.
in these virtual environments, and then they're
Yeah.
not in a traditional environment where you would
Mhm.
have a lot of friends that you're with on a regular basis, and it's just
Right.
challenging. And so
Yeah.
listening to them allows you to serve them better and to help them
Mm.
make better decisions and plan their life better when you really get an understanding of what they're going through and why they're going through it and how they feel about it. Feeling
Yeah.
is really, really important because children, like adults, but children act on feelings.
Yeah.
Uh, and not all they don't always stop themselves to think
Mhm.
about what they're going to do
Yeah.
based on feeling. So listening more and earlier was something that
Yeah.
I would have employed more, but I'm glad I learned it. And I still
Yeah.
got a few years left.
You still do. You still do. So you can course correct right
I
now
can,
as we
I
speak.
can.
So yeah, that is awesome. Beautiful. So Joyce, thank you so much. This time just passed by too fast. And I just want to thank you so much for joining and just, being part of this show, on a regular basis. And to now get a chance to meet you is just awesome. So I just want to thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Pamela. I mean, I really
Absolutely.
appreciate the service that you provide and the work that you do because it is
Mm,
so needed by
yeah.
parents and by students.
Mhm.
And I really enjoy watching and learning and
Yes.
and sharing all that
Yes.
you do. So thank you for what you do.
Yes. Thank you so much. So, like I said, awesome, powerful show. So, thanks so much for Joyce joining us today. And I really appreciate you for joining in. And I know that some of you I'll be seeing next week at College Prep Made Easy. So, I'm excited about that as well. But I'll look forward to talking with you next time on Keep Calm for Mom. So, thank you.